Hello and welcome to the Stash Down Diaries. My name is Jen and this is my YouTube channel where I talk all about my knitting projects and plans. If you're new here, welcome. This is going to be part 2 of a 2-part series. I previously did the first part of my Everything I Knit in 2023 video. There was a lot, so I decided to split it up. So if you haven't watched that one, I will link it down below and you can go have a watch. Now, it was really interesting to look back on what I knit, and it kind of revealed how my knitting kind of changed with my mood. Like, I had a really rough start to last year, so a lot of my knitting was vanilla socks, mindless scrappy projects, just a lot of just comfort knitting. And then as the year went on, you could see in the end of my last video, I was starting to dabble in some color work again. And then you'll see as I progress into the end of the year, there's a little more complicated projects, like slightly complicated projects, at least more than the start of the year. And then also there's a garment and some larger projects. So yeah, that was really interesting to look back at that. So last time I ended on June. So I am going to get going with July, and we are going to start off with a couple of scrappy projects again. And the first one is the Sunday mug rug. So I knit several of these. I wanted to use up some of my yarns that I had purchased in 2012, 2013 when I first began knitting. And I knit up, there was a Barocca one that they don't make anymore, I don't think, Barocca Maya. It's was an alpaca cotton blend. And I had knit a sweater out of it and I had some leftovers, and it just kind of sat in my stash, and I thought it'd be really cute as a mug rug, and it really was. I will put a little picture here. But I did knit several others out of yarns that I wanted to use up, and this is one of the ones, I gifted most of them, but this is one of the ones that I still have. So this one was just out of Belmead Yarns. So that is a farm here in Cape Breton, on the west side of Cape Breton Island. And I had this yarn in my stash, I think, since 2012. So I just had a little bit left and I wanted to use it up. So this was just the ticket. So I will probably end up giving this one away as well. I'm trying to think if I kept any of my mug rugs. I don't think I did. But anyway, the Sunday mug rug is a pattern by Sophie Robertson. I can't remember if it was a paid for pattern or a free one, but it is like super cute, especially if you do it in, so the Barocca Maya that I did it in, you saw in the photo, was like a beige kind of color and kind of looked like a little macrame-ish. They're super cute in that color. I mean, they're cute in this too, but if you do them in something neutral like that, they are super cute. So, and they'll go with anything, any of your decor. So yeah, those have all found new homes. And then the next thing I have to talk about is the gingham mug rug. Now, the gingham mug rug, I'm pretty sure was a paid for pattern, and it was by Sherry Kibler. I'm just referencing my notes on my laptop, so if I'm looking over here, that is why. So anyway, here it is again. I wanted to use up yarns. I believe, I'm trying to work off memory, I think it was pink and this color and white, but it's super cute again. I would really like to knit another one of those. Just a nice quick little project, and I gifted that one away too. So anyway, mug rugs are like super sweet gifts. I like to put them with a mug. So anyway, the next project that I have to talk about is one that I don't have with me anymore because it was a gift. So it was a Christmas gift for my mother, and it was the just a pair of vanilla socks in Cascade Heritage in the pink cloud stripe colorway. This was one that I got at the Yarn Emporium, I think it's called, in Moncton. It was on my 40th birthday yarn crawl that I went on my way to my brother's last March. If you hear noise in the background, that's just Piper. She's right here at my feet. Yeah, so my mother really likes gray and pink as a color combination, and I saw that yarn, and it's a very nice like merino sock yarn. So anyway, got that, knitted it up, and away it went. So yeah, I'm still at this point in July, I was still in the vanilla sock scrappy project kind of mood, but anyway, moving on. Okay, so the next project I had to show you is another one where I was trying to use up little scraps. And this was my Barocco flicker. And this yarn just did not seem to want to be used up. Like, I had used it in several projects. Initially, I had 3 balls of it. I had beige, I had gray, and then I had this little turquoise. And it was just not going away, but it finally did. When I finished this project. And this is the little card pouch, I think it's called. Little knit card pouch, and it is by Sweater Babe. And I believe it's a paid for pattern, but it has several, or not several, but like 3 styles, I would say. And I went with the little cabled one, which is really cute. And I had this little button in my stash, so it just holds the cards that I don't use that often. Like, we all have those points cards lying around, and some of them, like for example the hardware store free paint one, I just keep that in the drawer, and now they're all together in this little pouch. So anyway, that was that. Another little scrappy stash busting project. I wonder if you guys are able to hear my stomach. I just ate, so I don't know what its issue is. But anyway, the next project I have to talk about is another pair of vanilla socks, and these ones are also gifted. They are Patons Croix in the blue brown marl colorway. I really like knitting with Patons Croix for gifts. It's a nice sturdy sock yarn, so whoever's receiving them, you know, they'll last them quite a bit of time. So these ones were knit for my brother for his birthday, and yeah, I finished them in July. I think we're moving on. I think that was the last one for July. Yep, it is. So anyway, another pair of vanilla socks on the books, and let's get into August. In July, I started knitting like a Christmas in July project for some knit-alongs. I think I had them submitted in time, I'm pretty sure, but this was my pair of Christmas socks for this year. I usually knit a new pair each year, and this is the West Yorkshire Spinners yarn, and it is called... it's the 4-ply sparkle in the Fairy Lights colorway, I believe. This is a great yarn. I really like this. I'm planning to knit with this again. So this is just a nice ribbed sock, the pattern is called. It is, I did 2x2 for the cuff and then 3x1 for the rest of the sock. And it's just my usual 64 stitches. Yeah. Not a heck of a lot to say about that one, but if you can't tell, the cuff is fairly big. It ends right there. So there's one I actually still have because I knit them for myself. And I think this was a project that I actually got a prize for in Dana Rae Makes Christmas in July No Long. So that was super fun. So here's something that I knit for myself, but I still don't have it here because it's at my parents' house, and they were just simple house slippers. This is another yarn from Belmead Farms here in Cape Breton. I had this. I think I purchased it in 2012, so it was there for a long time, and it was one of those yarns that I just didn't know what to knit with it. And I think for this project I held it double, but I can't remember. But they're living at my parents' house. The pattern is by Simone Alexandra. And yeah, that was just a variegated colorway of like a heavy fingering weight, slight sport weight, hand-dyed yarn from the local farm here. And we're getting into another one that was from my yarn crawl back in March, and this is the Tanos Brook shawl. And it is one of my favorite shawl patterns to knit. This is the second one that I've knit. I just wanted a nice like eyelet shawl. Wanted something with some texture to gain, you know, get me a little bit more interest. And yeah, so this is by Jennifer Lassonde. And the yarn is Natural You. I think it's the Gots to Have It. Yep, it's their Gots to Have It base. And the colorway is from their Boreal collection, and it is called Wabakimi. I think that's how you pronounce it, but I'm not 100% sure. But this was lovely to knit with. It's very nice yarn. I would totally purchase this again. I have plans actually to purchase it again. So anyway, I think it's a merino, but I'm not sure. But it's got certified, or I'm not sure what the acronym is, but anyway, it's like certified organic and like sustainable or something. I will put it right here. But yeah, here's an actual project that I can show you because it's actually here. So at this point in the year, I was trying to tackle some of my older whips again, and I pulled out Here We Know Again. Sorry, Here We Gnome Again by Sarah. I think it's Sarah of Imagine Landscapes anyway. And this is knit out of some of my scrap yarns. I'm pretty sure that one's Cascade. That's a Loopy U. This one is Madeline Tosh. No idea what the puff is, but anyway, I absolutely love this little guy. I love the cables. I mean, like, it takes a while to knit the hat because of, you know, the detail in the cables, and they're like 1x1 cables, but yeah, totally worth it, because look how cute this is. You will find that I do enjoy the gnomes. And yeah, this one is for me, obviously. I might have to start knitting a few for other people, because every time I knit them, people are like, oh my god, it's so cute. And they're right. They are correct. It is super cute. So anyway, like, look at his nose. Look at his nose. I was going to do his nose in a different color, but the way it's knitted, the nose is like part of the beard. It's knitted on. So I was like, I could have attached another color, but it's fine. It's just for me. I'm the only one who has to approve of this, and I 100% approve. So I mentioned in my previous video that I was doing the Saltwater Stash Down, which is just knitting through the saltwater knitting books. So there's mittens, classics, gifts, and socks. And this one is the last one in round 1. So the first round of patterns, the first pattern in each book is, this is the Signal Hill Vamps from Saltwater Socks. And I decided to make them opposite. So yeah, really enjoy that. They have a little heart on the bottom of the foot. Super cute, super fun knit. They turned out a little bigger than I thought. I was like knitting them for myself, but I think they might just go in my house slipper basket. My floors are really cold, so when people come to visit, it's good to have some slippers on hand. So I think that is where these are gonna go live. And yeah, they are knit out of Briggs & Little is the gray. I think it's the Tuffy in, I can't remember. Is it called Smoke, maybe? And then the light green is just called light green, and it is McCausland's Woolen Mills. I used to get McCausland's Woolen Mills at this little gift shop in Margery Harbor here in Cape Breton, but the lady running the shop is now retired, so yeah, I'm not going to be able to get it locally anymore, but it's very similar to Briggs & Little anyway. They had a few different like colors, like different shades, but very similar anyway. And same with Lismore Sheep Farm, very similar to that as well. I actually think Lismore Sheep Farm is milled at McCausland's. I could be wrong, unless they're milled at Belfast Mini Mill. I don't know. I shouldn't say things when I don't really know. So anyway, yeah. So those are the Signal Hill Vamps from the Saltwater Socks book. Continuing on my quest to knit up stash that has been around since 2012. This is called Just a Hat, and it is a free pattern on Ravelry, and I knitted it out of Cascade Soft Spun in this red colorway. I had this left over from a shawl that I had knit before, and it was just hanging out in stash forever, so I wanted to use this all up finally. Just having my hand in here, it's getting really warm. It's super warm. It's nice yarn, but I believe it's discontinued. And the Just a Hat pattern is by, oh, where'd it go? Helena Shemchuk. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And yeah, like I said, I think it's a free pattern. So I have this in my like gifty knit stash or donatey stash. It'll just hang out until I find something or someone who will get some use out of this. And it's obviously, yeah, it's a child's hat, so some lucky little kid will get a very warm hat. And now we're into September, and this is going to be my first garment of the year. Well, first and only garment of the year, like last year. This year is going to be the year of the garment, so you're going to see more garments in 2024, but I only did this one last year. And I mean, it's understandable if I look back at, you know, what my mood was last year. But this was another quest to finish up whips that I had in my UFO bin. So this is a Humulus. I cast it on in, I think it was April of 2022, so it'd been languishing for a bit, and I decided that it was about time to finish it. It is a pattern by Isabel Kramer. I think that's the back. There we go. Yeah. So I knit this out of Cascade 220. The gray is charcoal and the purple I think is lavender. Yep, lavender. And I actually ended up having to order more yarn for the sleeve, and so I still have like most of a skein of the lavender in my stash, which hopefully I'll find something to use it for, maybe a hat or something. But I hate having a lot of leftovers, especially if it's almost a whole skein. But anyway, so yeah, this is just your typical colorwork yoke. It was my first time knitting like a colorwork yoke in a sweater. Normally I just do plain top-down raglans, and so this was a little bit adventurous for me, and I was concerned about how it would fit. It doesn't fit exactly as well as the top-down raglan ones, but it's okay. It's fine. Yeah. So moving on to the rest of the year, I really got to knit through my sweater quantities, and this was a great start to finish a sweater, and it really gave me the little boost I needed to pick some sweaters and stuff to knit this year. I'm starting to look at t-shirts and stuff. I'm getting a lot of inspiration from other people's everything I knit in 2023 videos. They got me looking at blouses, they got me looking at t-shirts and vests and everything. So I'm looking at my yarn stash going, I have enough to do a vest in that yarn. Or if I put different colors together, I have enough to do a poncho. So yeah, all those things are in my future. I did do a video in the fall of fall knitting plans. So those plans actually are carrying on into the winter. I should have put it as fall and winter knitting plans, but anyway, I'll know better for next year. So yeah, I started with my love note being cast on as far as garments go. And I will continue with a couple of other sweaters. Actually, one is a vest. So yeah, so that's going to be a continuation of that. Anyway, so this is the Humulus by Isabel Kramer, and yeah, finished that one in September. Here's another large one, and it's also another one where I wanted to use up really old stash. I had some Cascade 220 of different colors languishing in my stash for a while, so I decided to knit a Gallus scarf by Amy Palco, and she had released this pattern in September, and I saw it and I was just like, yep, I can use up a lot of Cascade 220 with that. I had all the colors in stash. This one, of course, this charcoal was left over from the sweater, and it had been in my stash since 2020. It only took a minimal amount in that Humulus sweater, so still had plenty to do a section of this. And then this is natural, been in my stash since like 2012, 2013. This one is, I can't remember what this one is, but also in my stash since like 2012, 2013. This one is, I think it's Sapphire. No, wrong. It's Stratosphere. It's Stratosphere. I think this might be like Sky Blue or something. I'm not sure. So yeah, and then this one is actually Cascade 220 Superwash. So it was just like kind of a, I needed a fifth color, and I figured this would go fine with it. It's a little bit, you know, because it's Superwash, it has a little bit of a different texture, but you can barely notice. It just didn't, kind of didn't, I don't know if it softened up the same as the other ones did. Also, this one I ripped from a old cardigan that didn't fit me right. So it had like kinks in it, so I had to really try to block that out, and it's fine. So I love this pattern. I want to knit another one, maybe in a fingering weight. But yeah, so I've been looking at stash for that. But it is just, it is massive, wonderfully massive. And it was a joy to knit, I have to say. Like, it was super potato chippy. This knit up in no time. So like, I finished this in September. The pattern was only released in September. You would think it would have taken me forever, but it really didn't. So yeah, so that's another larger project, and I was so happy to have a lot of that yarn worked up. I still have leftovers, but I have plans for those, which you will see in my month of scrappy knitting video when I get that done, whenever that happens. But anyway, yeah, so that was the Gallus scarf by Amy Palco. And the last project that I finished in September of 2023 is the Feather Vein Socks. This is a pattern by Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade. I really enjoy her pattern so much. I always take part in her Handmade Sock Society. It's where she releases a pattern. Can't remember if it's like every month for the last 6 months of the year or something like that. I think there's always 6 patterns in total. I could be wrong. There could be 5. Again, I shouldn't say things if I don't remember correctly. But anyway, this pattern is Feather Vein, and it was from her last collection, I think. And so I was trying to knit up some more of her patterns. She is one of my favorite sock knitters, or sock designers. And this yarn was another one from my yarn crawl for my 30th birthday, and it is another Natural You yarn. This one is their Echo base, and the color is Magnolia in Bloom. It is very lovely. I think this one, yeah, so this one is a superwash, but it's that different superwash process. I don't know how I feel about it entirely, because it kind of feels a little cottony, but it's nice. I wear them a bit, and so far it seems to be holding up pretty well, because there is nylon in it too as well. So, but yeah, I really love these socks. It's such a pretty color. So those are my Feather Vein socks in Natural You yarns, Magnolia in Bloom. So there was only those 3 projects for September, but they were a little bit more involved and a little bit larger. Now we're getting into October, and I have a Chunky Monkey hat. Just super fun. The Chunky Monkey hat is by Susie Knits, and I knit it out of Galway yarn in fuchsia and black, and I held the 2 strands together. This was a really fun pattern to knit, and I'm really happy with the texture of the yarn and just like the squishiness of the hat. It's just wonderful. And I think the pattern was free, but I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was free. So yeah, not a whole lot to say about that one. Just a wonderful beginner project if you're just getting into hat knitting. And yeah, the yarn, I don't knit with Galway a whole lot, but it is very nice. It's a nice like cold weather wool. I think it's supposed to felt up pretty well too, if you want to do like felted projects with it. I haven't yet, but yeah, so my hand being in here again is getting pretty warm. So maybe I'll just move on to the next thing. And we're back to gift knits that I don't have with me. So this pattern was Simple Socks for Kids, I think. Nope, Ribbed Socks for Kids by Susan B. Anderson. And I dove into my little sock scrap stash to knit a couple of pairs of socks for my 2 little nieces. And I'm really happy with the way they turned out. One of them was knit out of lollipop yarn, and then I used some other scraps for heels, cuffs, and toes. And I think the colorway is Smile, but I don't know what's going on with lollipop yarn. Her socials are all gone. So I'm thinking maybe she's not dyeing any yarn anymore, which is sad because her colorways were just absolutely beautiful. So yeah, big loss to the yarny world if she's not dyeing anymore. And the other one was Desert Vista Dye Works, and I think the colorway, it was from her Alice in Wonderland Zombie collection, and I think it's called Zombody's Late. So yeah, so those were 2 little pairs of socks that I knit for my nieces, and I believe this pattern was free. You can't go wrong with a Susan B. Anderson pattern. You really can't. She's so thorough with her patterns, similar to Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade. You just can't go wrong with either of those. And I would definitely use that pattern again. I can see it in my future actually, because the socks went over really well. So yeah, ribbed socks for kids. Another Christmas gift. So continuing on in October, I took part in the Hoi Fall C. It's a knit along that Hoi Locatelli hosts on, I think it's on both Instagram and the Ravelry group, but mainly in the Ravelry group. Like, you have to sign up in the Ravelry group. And you pick projects that you're going to work on. Every year, like, my eyes are bigger than my stomach, and I always put in for like 2 or 3 projects, and I only end up finishing one. This year, I didn't even cast on the second one that I put in for. But anyway, it might be for the best because I might be switching the yarn up for that one. But anyway, I did finish my Suburban wrap, and I absolutely love this. This might be my favorite thing that I knit for myself this year. Well, I don't know. There's the gnomes too. I really love the gnomes, so I don't know. It's up there anyway. It's one of my favorites I knit this year. So this one is just like, it's a joy to knit because you keep switching these sections. And like, so it has so much interest. So you get to a lace section, it's like, oh, I better watch something on TV that I've seen before. But then you get to a stockinette section, and it's like, or an eyelet section, and then it's like, oh, I can watch something that I've never seen before because I don't have to pay as close attention to my knitting. But yeah, and then switching up the colors. And then I love this color combination. It's from Polka Dot Yarns. I had it in my stash for a year or 2. I remember buying it at Tracy's Rolling Yarn Shop one December. I can't remember. I think it was 2 years ago, like 2021 maybe. And I don't know why I didn't cast this on right away. I was just maybe waiting for the right project, and I found the right project in this. But the colorways are chocolate for the brown, birch is the like white with the speckles, and then spruce is the like tealy green. And it is just so wonderful. Love how it turned out. Yeah, so I could see myself knitting another one of these, picking 3 other colors, and yeah, because it didn't really take that long to knit. Like, I can't remember. The Hoi Fall C starts on, I think, maybe September 1st, and I had this finished by the end of October. Meanwhile, I was knitting a bunch of other things, so yeah. And I don't think I cast this on September 1st. I'd have to check my Ravelry project page, but yeah. On a side note, I mentioned this in the part 1 of this video, but all of my Ravelry notes are up to date and everything. So if you want to know anything about any of the projects that I've been knitting or the designers or anything like that, it's all in Ravelry, which I will link my profile below. If you don't use Ravelry though, I am more than happy to answer your questions in the comments. Now we're into November, and the first projects that I finished in November were Newfoundland mitts, also known, I think, as honeycomb mitts maybe. I was on a quest to use up some soft spun, Briggs & Little soft spun that was in my stash. When I visited Briggs & Little in August, I saw this black color, and they had it on sale for like $4, and I should have bought more because it goes beautifully with their variegated soft spun. This one, this color, bubblegum, had been in my stash since, I'm pretty sure, 2012 or 2013. So I once again was on the quest to use that up. I have a basket of what I call the elder stash over in my closet, and I pull like stuff out of my other bins that's been like in my stash for a really long time, and I put it in there. And these yarns were in there, and they're still in there because there's some left over, enough to make 2 more pairs of mitts, as a matter of fact. So I'm going to be knitting a pair of these ones, I think, for myself. But this was, I can't believe I didn't knit with this soft spun because it is so nice. Like Briggs & Little can be a little on the rougher side, which is part of the reason why I love it, because when you knit it in color work, like with the Saltwater Mitts, like nothing, like they're so warm, nothing is getting through, no cold is getting through there. So yeah, because they're very lambly, the fibers stick together lovely. They can be hard on your hands if you're not used to knitting with it. I know I tried like on a US 5 years ago to try to knit a pair of work socks, and I just could not finish them. And it might have had to do with the needles. I know when I was a newer knitter, I didn't invest much in good needles. Nowadays, I've learned my lesson and I knit with good needles. So anyway, so this is the soft spun in black and bubblegum. And this is the soft spun in Flamingo. And I used their Heritage, I can't remember the colorway, but as you can see, it's just dark gray. I still need to trim the ends on these. These have been like blocked and woven in and everything. I just have to trim the ends before I distribute them elsewhere to their forever homes. So anyway, the pattern, who is the designer of this one? Like, it's a traditional pattern, but the one I used on Ravelry was by Jillian Hess, and that is kind of my go-to. There are other ones there that are for different sizes that I have in my queue on Ravelry. So there's a children's version and a men's version, or like a larger adult version. This is a free pattern. I'm pretty sure the other 2 sizes that I have queued up are free as well. But it's a very addictive pattern. They knit up fairly quickly, and yeah, very popular in these parts because they're just super fun. So those are the Newfoundland mitts. Next up in November, I finished Oma Lenny's Chunky Mittens, they're called. The pattern's called. And it is by Gerlina Free, I think it's, or Fry, F-R-I-E. Yeah, Free or Fry, I don't know. Anyway, they are to match the hat, the Chunky Monkey beanie. So they're both, again, knit with Galway worsted in the fuchsia and black colorways, held together. And like these, believe it or not, these are for an adult. My sister has very tiny hands, and I knitted everybody Newfoundland mitts, not Newfoundland mitts, but saltwater mittens from Newfoundland, like the Newfoundland style saltwater mittens last Christmas. And she mentioned that her hands are the mitts I made her were a little on the large size, and that her hands are small, and she's pretty much like kid size. So I knit her these ones to go with the hat, and I really should get those in the mail this week for sure. Anyway, that is those. Here's another one that needs to go in the mail. It is a Musselburgh hat out of Richard DeVries Pepino in the navy colorway. And this was the second Musselburgh that I ever knit. It's a little bit bigger than the first one. I think I knit an adult large, but I absolutely love this pattern. If you haven't heard of it, it is by Isolde Teague, and it is very popular. A lot of people do different variations of it. They try to get ribbing on the brim. A lot of the time people don't use a brim and they wear it slouchy. Yeah, so this is my second of 3 that I've knit. I only just finished the third one yesterday. So anyway, yeah, Richard DeVries Pepino is a nice fingering weight yarn. This pattern, when you're knitting it, you can actually use like any weighted yarn because she has a nice chart there where you can match your gauge to the number of stitches that you should have cast on or have increased up to. So yeah, I did not get the hype of this hat until I actually knit one for myself, and they are great. They fit great because they're double layered, they're warm. I just can't say enough great things about the pattern. So 10 out of 10, would recommend Musselburgh. And then the last pattern, or sorry, project that I knit up in November, I do not have with me because it has been gifted. And that is the Hot Spice Cider Cowl by Helen Stewart. And every year she does knit vent, so she releases patterns. I think it's like once a week, and I think there are 6 patterns. She knits them leading up to Christmas, although like she starts them earlier, and so they're finished I think maybe around the end of November, early December, so that you have time to knit things as gifts. And that is what I did with this one. And I used some Diamond Tradition that had been in my stash for a while. It's very lovely, like light robin's eggy blue, and then to make it even more robin's eggy and soft, I paired it with Sugar Bush Yarns Drizzle. What is the colorway? Do I have it? I don't have the colorway, but I don't think it matters because Sugar Bush is not in business anymore, which is super sad because I love their yarns. But anyway, I highly recommend this pattern. I love the way Helen Stewart's patterns are written. She has them all charted out, so then when I put them in the Knit Companion app, I have the little highlighter bar and I just move it down line by line. So, and then she has like the percentage of how far you are finish the pattern, and then she has like a column with how many stitches you have and stuff. Especially that works well if you're knitting on one of her patterns that changes stitch count. So like, for example, if you're knitting on a sock and you're turning a heel, or doing the gusset, it tells you like how many stitches you should have for the different sizes. So anyway, yeah, that's the Hot Spice Cider Cowl. Definitely recommend that one by Helen Stewart. Now, starting in December, I have another gift knit that I don't have with me. This is part of round 2 of Saltwater Stash Down, but I don't think I'm going to count it for that. I think I'm going to knit another one because it was really fun to knit. And this is the Moose Cap, and it is from Saltwater Classics, I believe. Yeah, it's from Saltwater Classics. And I used 3 different yarns that you would buy in the Maritimes here. One is Briggs & Little Navy in their heritage base. The other one I purchased at Lismore Sheep Farm here in Nova Scotia, and it was the black and red marl. And then the third one was McGoslin's Woolen Mills. Trying to remember what color was that. Was that like a oatmeal-y cream or something? There's a picture right here. We'll know when I post it what color that is. But so there was a yarn from Nova Scotia, a yarn from New Brunswick, and a yarn from PEI, which I thought was super fun. Anyway, so that knit up really nicely. The recipient liked it, and yeah, I would highly recommend that. Definitely going to knit another one as part of my Saltwater Stash Down. So that is the Moose Cap from Saltwater Classics. Here's another one that was a Christmas gift, and it is the Simple Skip Socks by Adrienne Koo. I have knit this pattern dozens of times. I love this pattern. Oh, bless you. Anyway, I knit it. Yeah, it's one that keeps the interest, but it's also nice and ribby so that it fits. If you're not 100% sure how wide somebody's feet are or something, you can use this pattern and the ribbing will like kind of suck it in on their foot, and it's keeps your interest because you have that skip stitch every other row. So yeah, it's one I've knit a lot. I've knit it on self-striping yarn, it works great. On self-patterning yarn, it works great. And on singular, I don't know, variegated yarn, it's fine. And tonal, it's all good. Anyway, excuse me, I knitted this one out of Turtle Pearl striped turtle toes in the We Aim to Misbehave colorway. I don't know if they're doing this colorway anymore. It was one that was created when the previous owner had the shop, and it was inspired by Firefly. If you're familiar with that series, that poor short-lived series, that was actually really excellent. Yeah, so those were gifted. Turtle Pearl is one of my favorite self-striping yarns, and that yarn had been in my stash for a while. I don't know why, but it happens. But I'm really glad that I knit with it, and I have some left over to put in my northeasterly blanket, so I'll get to have a little bit of memories of it. especially after it had been in my stash for so long and I was looking at it, and then it'd be weird to suddenly not be looking at it all the time. So now it's going to be in my northeasterly. I also knitted a can cozy out of it, but I don't have a picture of that. So anyway, so the can cozy and the socks were gifted together. Anyway, so that was the Simple Skip socks out of Turtle Pearl Striped Turtle Toes in the We Aim to Misbehave colorway. And here we have the second of my two gnomes. This one is Make Gnome Mistake. This one I was gonna gift it, but I wasn't a huge fan of how I did the nose. It was my first time doing this kind of beard, and let's face it, I really love this and wanted to keep it, so I did. Anyway, I was like super interested to see how that beard was knit up, because like, how do you even do that? But anyway, it's Sarah from Imagine Landscapes, of course, of lots of the gnome fame, and her instructions are always perfect, so I had no trouble knitting that. I'm not sure what yarns I use. I think this white is Madeline Tosh. This one is like a random sock yarn, more random sock yarn, and I think this was more of the Loopy U yarn that I had in scraps, so I had used it for the other gnome and this one. But yeah, took a while to do the hat because I took my time doing the color work, and then blocked the hat so that the stitches would even out and bring color work out a little more. And yeah, I think he's pretty awesome myself, but I could be biased. So that is Make Gnome Mistake. Make Gnome Mistake by Sarah of Imagine Landscapes. For some reason I missed these ones in the list. I'm wondering now if I did not do a project page for them because they were another vanilla sock. I can check my other notes to see when I finish them, but it doesn't really matter. I am just going to stick them in here because I thought of them. But these were my Halloween socks for this year. The theme of this yarn is not Halloween, but the colors are. It looks like, you know, the orange and black with like candy corn. This yarn is Windswept Fibers from out of Newfoundland, and this colorway is called, I think, Alliston Island Puffins, or just Alliston Puffins, something like that. But I was looking for Halloween yarn when I was at Tracy's Rolling Yarn Shop, and I saw this one, and the way it was dyed, it looked like it was going to micro stripe, and yeah, I was correct, and it did, and it's wonderful. So they have so many lovely colorways in that yarn. So I am excited to try several more. As you can see, this is just my regular vanilla sock, 64 stitches. I think I did, I can't remember, 15 or 20 rows of the cuff. And yeah, so these ones were for me, and I know I finished them. I think I finished them like the day before Halloween, but somehow they are not in the October list, which means that maybe I didn't do a project page for them, which is terrible because everything should have a project page, am I right? Well, some people don't bother, but anyway, if I'm going to start something, I should be consistent, and I'll always have project pages for my knitting. That is just my opinion of myself. You don't need to conform to what I do. Anyway, yeah. So the next one was another Christmas gift, and these are the Cider House Socks by Summer Lee. I absolutely love how these turned out. I really want a pair for myself. Piper is giving herself a little chin scratch there, so you might hear that in the background. But anyway, like, look at these. Aren't they pretty? So I used Crazy Zauberball that had been in my stash for a really long time. Like, I'm talking 2014 probably. And then I used some Comfort Wool in the navy blue for the stripes. And then I think I used Sandisk and Sisu for the heels, cuffs, and toes. But super happy with these. Love the little cable detail and the stripes in the cuff. They're just, like, it's not a whole lot to do to make like super pretty socks. But anyway, yeah, so I knitted those. I knitted a can cozy to go with it and sent them on their way to their new home. So if you were watching me in December, you know that I was working on Arna and Carlos's Advent stocking for this year. And here it is in all of its glory. I finished it on December 24th and woven the ends and blocked it and everything. I loved working on this, especially since up until like around December 26th, it's a free pattern. So so it was a free pattern, plus I used yarn from Stash, so it didn't cost me anything to have a wonderful like Advent activity for myself. And just look at it. I still have ends to cut, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I still have to cut the ends and put a hanger on it, I guess. But it was a mystery knit along, so I didn't know what all the different pattern sections were going to look like. The yarn is Briggs & Little. I used Heritage in Evergreen for the green sections, and I used Tuffy in Red Mix and Tuffy in Oatmeal for the other two colors. And I just love this. I am definitely going to participate in it again next year. I didn't know until later that they were actually doing this. I was like kind of joining in a little late, but anyway, I caught up pretty quickly. They only do 6 rows a day, so it didn't take much to catch up. Yeah, highly recommend pattern. You can still get this pattern, it's just that you would have to pay for it, which is worth it. So anyway, yeah, so that is the Arna and Carlos Advent knit along stocking. We're almost there. Only 2 patterns left, and they are both patterns that I do not have with, or projects that I do not have with me. The first one is Mermaids by Susan B. Anderson that I knitted for my nieces. They are here. I did like change up the pattern a little bit. I changed up the hair. I didn't stuff the fins. I held sequin yarn with it. Trying to think. I used bigger eyes. I put a little beaded necklace on them. But yeah, I was super happy that I did not use up a whole lot of the yarn in the tails, because now I am knitting socks with it because I really love the colors. And yeah, so I was happy that I had enough left over to do that. But yeah, they were popular with their new owners. So yeah, that was Mermaids by Susan B. Anderson. And the last project that I have to talk about was another gift for another niece, and it is the Dream Fingerless Mitts by Marcia Healy. And these actually were a dream to knit. They were fairly comforting and mindless. You didn't have to worry about doing thumb gusset increases because the thumb was actually like in ribbing. So it would, when you put them on, like the thumb would expand so that it fit properly. And the great thing about them is that you could fold them down, or if your fingertips got cold, you could fold them up over your fingers. I knit this out of yarn that was in my stash for a really long time. I think that was the theme for 2023, knitting yarn that was in my stash for a really long time, and I'm really happy with the amount that I worked on. Still have a ways to go, but yeah, it was really satisfying to see some of these yarns worked up. Anyway, it was Fishnet's yarn in the Rob Roy Zombie colorway, and that was one of the first yarns, like indie dyed yarns, that I ever purchased. I purchased it along with the self-striping one, which I still have a little tiny ball of because I use it for socks. But anyway, I'm going to use that up in my northeasterly blanket sometime this year probably. But yeah, I definitely want to knit these fingerless mitts for myself as well. I'm kind of eyeing my stash to see which yarn I might knit it up out of. Kind of maybe eyeing a little bit of hedgehog that I've been hanging on to for a while. But anyway, we'll see how that goes. So that is all the projects that I knit in 2023. There's one little thing that I wanted to talk about at the end, and that is the yarn that I purchased in 2023 and how well I did knitting that up. And I did pretty good, actually. I'm very surprised. So I counted up all of the yarns that I knit, like the number of skeins or balls, and it was 27. 18 ended up in projects, which is pretty darn good for me because before, you know, like I just finished talking about yarns that have been in my stash since 2012, 2013, 2014. So I didn't have a very good track record of using up yarns right away. So that means I have 9 that are not cast on. And I put them right here so we can talk about that. So some of them are from my yarn crawl in March. I want to work on these. So this is Durasport by Briggs & Little, and it's oatmeal and denim. So this is a sock yarn in a sport weight. So I want to work these up. I don't know necessarily if I'm going to knit socks. I'm also thinking about fingerless mitts. Excuse me. So yeah, so there's those 2. So that's 2 of the 9 that aren't cast on. And then also on that trip that I took, the yarn crawl was some Briggs & Little like exclusive colorways. Yeah, exclusive colorways that are at Deanne Fitzpatrick's studio. I'm thinking I want to knit these together somehow, and I was thinking of a yoke of a sweater, but also I'm thinking about a fire season blanket in like non-primary colors. So like the colors won't match the actual colors for the fire weather index, but they'll be like a little offshoot of them. So I'm really thinking about that. So I'd have these 4 plus 2 other colors for that. And yeah, there's no rule that says I can't order more yarn if I want to do a yoked sweater, or if I want to do anything else. Like, I love these colors. And I'm probably going to need to order more if I'm going to do the blanket anyway, because I don't think the 6 colors will be enough for the blanket, especially the lower colors on the fire weather index, like the blues and the greens. And then I'm going to use a different one for 0. So those ones will be used up fairly quickly. So probably going to need to order them. But yeah, I'm having deja vu right now. I'm pretty sure I held these up just like this and was like, yeah, I'm going to knit a yoked sweater. That might change. We'll see. Maybe I'll browse Ravelry, but I'm pretty sure there is going to be a fire season blanket in my future. Whether these ones are used, I don't know, but we will see. Moving on. So that's 6 of the 9. And then in May, I purchased this lovely thing. Now, like, this is, if I were a skeiny yarn, this is what I would be. It is so beautiful. Oh, I'm trying to remember what yarn this is. I am going to write it down here. I'm so sorry that I can't remember. I think it's Wool and Wanderlust. It is Wool and Wanderlust. Yes, it is. The cats chewed up, or maybe the dog did. Somebody in my household chewed up the label on me. So I don't remember what the colorway is, but I think I can look it up on Ravelry. But yeah, this is me in a skeiny yarn. I purchased this as like a shopping therapy type thing, and I didn't have a plan for it. But I'm thinking I want this color to be seen, so I am going to put it around my neck, I believe. So yeah, that's the plan there. And so that is, what am I at? 7 out of the 9 that I didn't knit this year yet. The last 2 are new to me yarns. These are West Yorkshire Spinner, the Croft Aran. I can't remember the, oh, I have it written down. Isn't that nice? Thank you, past me. This is Seafield and this is Hillswick. And I thought they would go wonderfully together. So I wanted to try them out. And I'm thinking there's probably going to be a sweater quantity of this in my future. But I have to knit through the sweater quantities that I have. So yeah. So that's all 9 of the yarns that I purchased in the last year that I did not cast anything on with. That's pretty good. I really think. 9 out of 27. Who even am I? Anyway, so that is going to conclude this video. Thank you so much if you've watched all the way to the end, especially. we're gonna see what 2024 holds. I got some ideas. You're gonna see more videos of different kind of monthly themes, like this month is the month of scrappy knitting. I also have like the overarching year of the garment on the go, so we're gonna see hopefully lots of sweater quantities used up, lots of scrappy knitting. I will talk about that more in my next video when I do my just regular episode, which is going to be done shortly. So again, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like. Let me know what your favorite thing was that you knit last year. I will see you next time. Take care.